Hello everyone, I'm Brazen Eagle, and thank you for joining me here. So today we have an article here from Breitbart talking about gender and its supposed definition. So note, MSNBC thought police says it's incendiary to believe in two genders. Over at far left MSNBC, Republicans are under attack as being incendiary for stating the scientific fact that there are only two genders. MSNBC anchor Chris Jansing ripped into Louisiana Republican gubernatorial candidate Ralph Abraham, who happens to be a medical doctor, over his claim in a TV ad that there are only two genders. And in Louisiana, the Republican candidate for governor, Ralph Abraham, is out with a new TV ad this week making incendiary comments about gender. Jansing told her viewers before running a clip up from the ad in which Abraham says, "As a doctor, I can assure you that there are only two genders." Yep, things have become so Orwellian in the establishment media that scientific and biological facts are now considered incendiary. Facts are incendiary, truth is incendiary, not going along with someone's fantasy is incendiary. Get this, it's now incendiary to say there are two genders, but totally fine to state there are 112 genders. And herein lies my problem with the political left when it comes to all this LGBT supercalifragilisticexpialidocious nonsense. I am all about live and let live. If you want to be gay, so be gay. If you're a guy who wants to pretend you're a woman, knock yourself out. If you want to marry a Star Wars action figure and your mailbox, go with God. There's no word that can adequately describe my level of indifference when it comes to consenting or how consenting adults choose to live their own lives. The problem you see is that this is never good enough. In this increasingly Orwellian society of ours, indifference is a thought crime. And this is why we have pronoun Nazis. If some guy believes he's a chick, you and I leaving him alone is not good enough. Our indifference is not good enough. No, we must play along with what is mental illness. We must use the correct pronouns, and if we do not use the correct pronouns, we will be ripped apart by the left's pronoun Nazis. And I don't mean when we are in the presence of a transsexual. If I met the person formerly known as Bruce Jenner, I would, of course, be polite. But he's a guy. He's a man, a fella, dude, male, mister. And to bully me into saying or believing different is no different than taking me into room 101 until I agree to believe 2 plus 2 is 5. These lunatics have come up with 112 genders, and I don't want to know what vibrogender means. But again, fine. If you want to believe that there are 112 genders, I cannot even begin to express to you how little I care. In my mind, you are like someone who believes in ghosts or astrology or the grassy knoll. This is a great, big, beautiful country we got here, and there's plenty of room for the Area 51 crowd. I don't care, don't care, don't care. But then you a-holes force me to care, force me to bake your goddamn cake, harass me into allowing you to change your clothes and expose your schlong to my daughter, bully me into accepting your anti-science fads, and attack me as incendiary and divisive for stating the most biological facts. Why can't you fascists choose not to care as much as I don't care? Why can't you fascists not care about my belief in two genders as much as I don't care about your belief in 112? Why can't you fascists just leave me alone? People who believe in astrology or UFOs and Bigfoot and Scientology don't bully and harass me. Why do you have to? It is a simple biological fact that your gender is stamped on every piece of your DNA, that your gender is more pronounced than your skin color, which means there is a sounder biological reason for a white person to claim to be black than there is for a man to claim to be a woman. That's just the way it is, but if you want to believe different, I don't care. But if I do dare to express my personal belief of how many genders there are, I'm the villain, I'm the one under attack by the media, I'm the one being hauled into room 101 for being incendiary, I'm the one media want silenced. Remember when they told us my gay marriage will never affect you? Remember that? Remember when the left told us that? It was all a lie. Now we can probably tell from the writer here, I guess his name is John Bolton? Yeah, John Bolton, no, God no. John Nota on Twitter, that he's being a little emotional about gender and how it is manipulated to force others to conform to another person. Now, we need to understand what gender is. There are very, very many different versions of what gender means, so I had to settle on one version from Wikipedia. And I figured Wikipedia would be good enough for a answer. From Wikipedia, of course, gender is a range of characteristics pertaining to and differentiating between masculinity and femininity, depending on the context. These characteristics may include biological sex, sex-based social structures, or gender identity. Most cultures use a gender binary, having two genders, boys men, girls women. Those who exist outside these groups fall under the umbrella term non-binary or genderqueer. Some societies have specific genders besides men and women, such as the Hijras of South Asia, These are often associated as to third genders, which is very, very important to note. So, basically, we basically have two sexes, right? The real term, instead of gender, you want to use sex, but let's go on with gender. We have two genders, most normally, masculine and feminine. But what happens when you don't want to feel either masculine or feminine, despite your sex? That's a part where we go down the rabbit hole of Weimar Germany and transgenderism and non-binary gender thought. Now this non-binary gender or third gender or whatever stuff this is the major rabbit hole that we get ourselves sunk into. Non-binary is a spectrum of gender identities that are not inclusively masculine or exclusively feminine, identities that are outside the gender binary. Genderqueer is an earlier term with the same meaning, originating from queer zines of the 1980s. Ooh, must have been a crazy time then. But, basically, if you say or feel that you aren't masculine or feminine, then you can create your own gender based on your feelings if you supposedly don't conform to your sex. That's all that this is based on. Your gender is literally based on feelings, not biology. Gender is quite literally, as this title of my video says, a social construct. It's made up. It's just feelings. And this is why words are so incredibly important. You have to decode what people are saying with their words, and even their body language. There's a reason why I decide to script these videos, because I need to make sure I use the right words most of the time. And these words, they have an incredible amount of value and connotation that can influence a certain position. In my videos regarding sex or gender, I always go with sex because gender is meaningless. Gender is meaningless. Do you know what I mean by that? Because gender is based on feelings, and humans have potentially an infinite number of feelings, then there are by default an infinite number of genders. It's just all based on feelings. Now let's go back to this article here. The writer, John Nolte, is upset or fed up that even though he took a more libertarian view of as long as you don't harm me or hurt anyone else, then do whatever you want approach, the writer here, he must conform to the person who is changing or manipulating their gender and feelings. It's all about control. It's just a game. What happens if you do not comply with stating that a person is of a supposed minority gender? If you misgender somebody, you're labeled as a bigot, as intolerant, or potentially as a dangerous person because you did not respect the other person's worldviews, right? If you do not call someone by their preferred gender, then therefore you are making the stance that you do not see the other person as an equal, because if you did, then you would call them by what they want to be called. Misgendering a person is a no-no because it shows that you don't believe in equality for everyone. You're not respectful. You're not polite to everyone, and that's a no-no, especially if you live in a society that mandates radical equality. And like I said earlier, this is all a game. It's all about power. By creating nearly an infinite number of genders, then you are thereby creating an infinite oppression pool. If you change your gender to something new, something radically different that no one has ever heard of, then you know what? You can claim minority status. This is very, very important. You can claim to have a different sexual orientation and therefore become a legally protected class. Homosexuals are a legally protected class. Like I said earlier, though, it's all about power and control. The most important question to ask is this: when will this end? When will the talk about gender, masculine, feminine, trans, whatever, when will it end? When will we stop caring about gender norms, and stuff like this? It'll only end when there is a consequence for all of this action and inaction. And if you want to know what happens historically regarding issues like this, then how about you go ahead and look up transgenderism and gender identity in the Weimar Republic, the 1920s and early 1930s Germany. It looks like history is repeating itself, but you know what? That discovery, if you don't know about it, is for your own research, at least for now. With that in mind, thank you very much for watching. I'm Brazen Eagle, and I hope you have a great day.